welcome back, everybody. It's time once again for another episode of Health Talks with Dr. Trinh. The one show, the only show that shows you a path towards a healthier life. And today we're talking with a man who's going to take another long trip on that path. We brought back Jerry Husan, who's just getting ready to go back to Ukraine. Hey, welcome, Jerry.
Thank you, sir. Great to be with you again.
And Dr. Trinh, as always, is watching from his car somewhere here. Come in, Dr. Trinh.
Hi, Pa. Hey, Pa, I don't know why we can barely hear you.
You can barely hear me? All right, let's try that. Is that any better? Let's see.
Maybe it's the ringing in my ears, the tinnitus.
It could be. Can you hear me okay, Jerry?
Yes, I can. Iggy's a little loud.
Iggy's a little loud here.
Yeah, Jerry's super loud.
All right. Well, let's see here. We're trying to get everybody tuned in. How's that? Any better?
Yes.
A little bit better. Yes. A little bit better.
All right, good. Sorry. All right. Well, let's pick it up here. Iggy, set us up. Why'd you bring Jerry back again here?
I'm bringing Jerry back because last time we didn't have enough of an opportunity to put him on the hot seat and toast him.
Is that it? It's just one more time to roast him and toast him here. No, yeah. Come on. I hear there's a good reason for him coming back on today here.
Yes, he is taking a flight today, and would love for Jerry to let us know where he's flying to and what he's going to be doing in the next weeks here,
and how we can support him. So, Jerry, for those that might have missed the last episode, reintroduce yourself. Tell us why you're going to Ukraine today here.
Yeah, we'll do. I'm Jerry Husan, run an organization called 7 Day Hero. We do humanitarian work around the world. And we've been invited to go to Ukraine, actually through Romania, and right there on the border. And I've got a friend there that they are packing vans full of food and medication, and then taking it across the border. And then somewhere south of Lviv, we will take the items and give it into a big truck, and they'll take it to some of the war-torn cities. So I'm taking a board member with me, Lawrence Hartley, and we are buying meds, and we're buying food, and we'll pack those vans and get those things taken care of. And our plan is, this isn't a one-time shot. We're going to be taking teams. So if you'd like to go, 7dayhero.org.
Wow.
And you want to volunteer, we'll take some teams, and we won't go to Ukraine necessarily. I'm looking at safety here first, right, and trying to prepare the way for people to make a difference in Ukrainians' lives and the refugees that are coming across the border.
All right, so let's break that down. How can we here in Southern California or around the world, of people listening to this in different places, different countries, different cities here, how can we make a difference? Is it just giving money? Is it vocal support to keep this front and center? Or is it literally getting on a plane and going with you somewhere? How can we, as ordinary people, make a difference?
All the above, Paul. We need to raise money to buy the meds. And what's so important about the meds is people in war-torn cities have no place to get meds. So if you're on heart medication and you run out, you can die. Diabetics run out of their medication, they can die. So it's not just a food situation. We have places to buy. So yes, donating at 7dayhero.org, signing up and saying, I'm interested in going on a trip with you. And we'll probably make it a 7 or 8 day trip max, so people can accommodate that. And you can make a difference in someone's life just by showing up. And it's amazing. And then all the kids. So we'll bring kids stuff. We will play with them. We'll care about them. We'll give things away. And soccer balls are like gold.
Wow.
Over there.
Right. All right. So describe to me the need on the ground, because here's what I think is disturbing about this. as it enters a new phase, this conflict. One, it's not over. Everybody kind of assumed, gee, the poor Ukrainians can't possibly stand up to this onslaught, and as much as we want to support them and help them, inevitably they're going to be overrun. That hasn't happened. And in fact, they've pushed back the Russians in ways that surprised the Russians, us, and the rest of the world here. So the good news is they've resisted. The bad news is this seems like it's going to go on for a while, unless the Russians finally give up and go away, which doesn't seem likely in the short run here. You're looking at a protracted conflict that could go on for months and months. I don't know, years. I don't. Does this go? What's the end game here? What does this look like? Do you think there's?
Well, it can go on, and who knows? But even if it stopped today, you still have all these refugees. You still have all these people that need medicine and food and the basic things of life just to sustain themselves.
Right.
So, I mean, that's going to be several years going on. So we have an open door to go somewhere and make a difference in someone's life,
right.
Whether the conflict continues or if it stops today. And so, we think about safety. And we think about, safety on our part because we want to help. Yes. Right. And you think about the risks involved with all that. But I've driven in Little Saigon, so I know all about risk. So
I've driven on the 405 freeway at rush hour. Right. Yeah, I know what it's like to risk my life here. All right. Right. So how do you get in and get this stuff distributed? You don't just show up with a truck at a corner and say, come and get it. You've got to find the people that need the meds.
That's right. And we have partners, and I don't work in a country without partners who know the culture. They know what you can do, what you can't do, and how to make all the connections. So that is my job, to make sure that's all happened before I even go. Then I'll be making some connections, new connections, while I'm there on this trip this week. So, it's really important that nobody needs to know anything about me or our organization. We hide behind the local indigenous worker or group, right. And or even pastors, so that they're the heroes and not us, and we come alongside and they're the sustainability of it all, and we just support them.
Is that so? Maybe you're disclosing something you can't or you don't want to, but is this a network, an ad hoc network that you put together of pastors, of priests, of local community centers? I don't know what. Give us
some nonprofits that are working there. We take on everybody. We just go over, see who's doing stuff that we feel we can help, and we dig in.
And what kind of response? You've been over there on a scouting mission, and I think you took a little bit over there, but this is like the first push where you're really showing up with trucks, or have you been there before with trucks and supplies?
No, I have not been there with trucks. So I'm partnering with a group that has vans. And so we're going to load the vans up, 4 or 5 of them. They just got a new van, so I think they have 5 now, with meds and food. And then we're going to go across the border. We're not going to go as far as Lviv, but we're going to go somewhere in there. And then at a meeting place, and a big old truck's going to come and get everything we have. And we'll load it into that truck, and they will take it to Kyiv and some other war-torn cities.
How about the really war-torn ones, like you read about Mariupol, and this city has been flattened?
Yeah.
Flattened, literally.
Yeah.
Imagine a city with, I don't know, what does it have, 1 million people in it, or 500,000 people or something in it? It's a pretty big city. And you see the aerial shots of it, and it doesn't look like there's a building left standing.
And it's, it's horrible. And it's the children. They're being rushed out of their own homes and cities and towns and villages that are close by, just so they can live. So,
and I can't imagine if we don't have that kind of density of urban dwellings, but say downtown Los Angeles or something like that. If that whole area was flattened, all the high rises, all the buildings were leveled, I don't know how anybody lives in the rubble, but I guess they do somehow, or they pick through the rubble. And if they do, suddenly what does their life look like? Those who have survived, I'm injured. There's no hospital. I need my meds. There's no Target. There's no CVS. There's no place to get this stuff here. Where do I get food? How do I get running water? The infrastructure breaks down. There's no toilets. There's no anything. You're literally just surviving like wild animals in whatever you can pick through, I guess.
Yeah, not unlike Haiti in the big earthquake that happened. I was there 6 days after that earthquake,
Right.
and the rubble and the death. I smelled death for the first time, and it was just chaos. But somehow people survive. Somehow God gives them something that just allows them to
They find some canned food. It's like one of these apocalyptic movies. You're looking for anything you can in the rubble here just to survive. And then some of them try and get out, want to get out, but they're surrounded. They're right now in that steel plant outside of Mariupol. The last there isn't much left in Mariupol, I guess. Right.
Well, I'm also been in Peru after that huge earthquake leveled part of Peru, and I watched kids go through rubble that a dog had already gone through to get something to eat.
Oh my God.
And that's when I went, okay, I can't let that go by.
Can't let that go by.
7 Day Hero is moving forward to help situations like that and disasters. And this here in Ukraine is a huge disaster. We don't have all the answers. We don't know everything about it, but when you're called, you just go.
You just go. All right. So when you go, how do you not die in the process? How do you survive where others can't survive? You're not going right into the middle of the rubble. You're kind of coming across the border, and then somebody else distributes it into the worst part areas. But the missiles are striking everywhere. Lviv was considered safe haven, people rushing there, and then the Russians launched a few just to say, hey, we can get you anywhere here. Now it's not, I don't know if it's daily bombardment or if it's just periodic.
Couple days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Lviv is it's like the amazing city. I've been there. It's crazy good. And so somehow we have people that are surviving, hiding. They've got a network there, and we're going to support them in every way we can.
Dr. Trin's back. He must have a question here. What do you think, Dr. Trin? I can't wrap my head around what that looks like. That image of a child picking through the refuse, the rubble of a building in an area that dogs have already combed through trying to find food to survive. I can't picture that.
Yeah, I was just going to say in Vietnam, we would be looking for the dog.
All right. Yeah. The dog wouldn't have made it too far here.
Never mind.
Okay. You just came on just to do that bad joke? That's after all of this?
Hey, that's the best he's got.
That's the best he's got. Okay. All right. Well, he's got to come in and stick these little zingers in. That's his calling. All right.
So yeah, Paul, I'm so with you on that. I stood there and watched that, and I cried. So that's when I had to go and take care of it. And I fed a whole city, not a whole village, because I couldn't take that. And it was on the spot, no budget. We just did it, and I felt like I witnessed something that I was supposed to witness that would move my heart and allow me to gather people.
Well, I hope people are moved today here. How can they donate again if they just want to help you and say, I can't go, but here's $50, here's $100, here's $1,000 or something here?
That'd be amazing. Just go to our website, the number 7, so 7dayhero.org. And there's a donate button, and you can do that.
And you're a 501c3, so I can write it off my taxes and all those other things.
Sure can. Yeah. And anything will help, because we're going to be there a number of times this summer. I just got back from Iraq, and that's a former war zone,
right? And
there's still ISIS there and all that, but now I'm moving into a live one.
Yeah.
And people that are starving, lack of meds, lack of water because Russia is cutting off and sabotaging water pipes and water wells. And so we're helping with that
They're
as well.
literally trying to. They're hoping they can strangle the population until they say enough, and they
Yeah.
surrender. Right.
This isn't soldier against soldier. This is soldier against innocent civilian people,
Yeah.
men, women, and children.
And I think that seems to be the pattern. From what I've read, I'm a big military history buff and everything here. And as I sift through trying to the disinformation, the chaos, the confusion of what, the conflicting reports of what's coming out of this thing. One thing that I hear over and over again is that the Russians, when they went into Syria in support of Assad, their ally there, because they have a port in Syria, a naval base in Syria, and so they're trying to support when everybody thought Assad is done, all these groups are fighting him, he's going to fall any day. Everybody's predicting the end, and the Russians came in and just bombed the hell out of cities and flattened them like Aleppo, and just indiscriminate bombing. Now, they weren't fighting maybe as sophisticated armed forces with tanks and planes and drones like the Ukrainians have, but they just went in and leveled these cities until people just exhausted said, all right, enough, we quit. And that seems to be the pattern there. The same general who ran that campaign in Syria is now in charge of the Russian campaign, and everybody says that we've seen this playbook. There's no big secret. They just stand outside with artillery and long-range missiles, and they just indiscriminately, and occasionally they fly some planes in, but they're afraid of getting their plane shot down. So they just indiscriminately launch this stuff into the city anywhere, everywhere, until they just pretty much flatten and pound the city, and then people say enough. There's no resistance, and they can roll in and take over this flattened city. I don't know what the gain to them is to hold on to a flattened city, but that seems to be kind of the pattern here. And it's hard to imagine that anybody could be that cruel, that heartless, because now you're not fighting. Somehow we can justify it if the armies are fighting each other and people are volunteered or they're joined the forces and they put their lives at risk to defend their countries or assault a country or whatever it is. Soldiers have a different, we sort of accept that they're going to try and kill each other. The people who are just going about their daily life, I'm just walking around my house here and people are lobbing bombs into my neighborhood here just continually. That seems to be the pattern of what we're seeing here.
The word that comes to mind for me is it's evil.
Yeah.
It's not hard to judge that. It's just evil to do that to people.
And everybody's got to be saying to yourself, why? What possible? Why? What did these children? What did these mothers? What did these old folks do to deserve any of this? Other than they didn't. Many of them didn't say yes, no, or anything. They're just going about their lives, and they're being executed in mass.
Yeah, about a few years ago, like about 3 years ago, I was in Jerusalem spending the night, and I woke up to sirens in my hotel, and Gaza had released a couple missiles, and it was the first time they found out it could reach Jerusalem. And Israel's defense mechanism blew up those things, and that's what I heard. It's just these two huge explosions, and indiscriminate missiles set off to destroy anyone or anything.
Yeah, it's terror. It's designed to terrorize the population until they just submit and say enough, or just lashing out, kill anybody, kill everything. It's hard to fathom. It's hard to wrap our head around, and I think it's so overwhelming. Like any of these, you talk about earthquakes or similar kinds of shocking disasters. Children picking through rubble that dogs have already gone through. That I'll never get rid of that image. And we as Americans, safe, comfortable people here, I think how shocked we were, how shook we were when 9/11 happened and the building fell, and a couple thousand people died. Imagine if all the buildings fell.
Yeah. And somehow God has protected America. and to this point, and that's why we can't wrap our arms around that.
No. We
Somebody
have no
messes
frame
up
of
my
reference.
restaurant reservation, I get mad.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
I have any
Right.
reason, or the 405 stacks up on us, and
Yeah. Right.
we have no reason. Our lives are, we live in an Easter basket.
We live in an Easter basket. I like that. Yeah, with little colored eggs and little, bright, shiny colors all around us here. Yeah.
The grass is always green.
Yeah.
The bunny's always smiling.
Yeah. We live in an Easter basket.
And yet we go places where that's not true. And somehow these people survive through all the rubble and all of the pain and suffering of losing family and friends, and somehow they're able to get past that, but they can't do that without help.
And what do you say to people? This maybe is a heartless thing to say, but I hear it from time to time. I haven't heard it too much with this Ukrainian thing. I think this has really grabbed our hearts and our minds in a way that some other disasters haven't. We've seen massive suffering in Rwanda and other places, and we weren't as moved. I don't know why, but somehow this has captured America's hearts and minds, left, right, and center. I hear people all over the place, but for a while there, and occasionally there are people say, I'm really sorry, but we got problems here. Why should I worry about them? What can I do for them? What do you say to those people that say they're willing to write off suffering around the world or turn a blind eye to it because it's overwhelming, it's too far, it's too expensive, it's not our fight?
I think it is overwhelming. If you wade right into it, it's not, because it's real people, real hearts, real souls, flesh and blood, that you can, people that would so appreciate and love on you, unbelievable with the help that you can give them. But don't look past the end of their nose.
Yeah, right.
And somehow our troubles we think are problems, and they're not. I have no problems.
Yeah, not compared to that. No, I'm not picking through rubble for food that the dogs have already gone through here. No,
or just in comparison to when ISIS goes through a town in Syria, and the Free Burma Rangers go over there, pick everybody up and bring over the ISIS brides that were stolen out of their homes and taken to the camps as like 12, 13, and 14-year-olds, bring them over and doing trauma counseling with them. Do you think those girls they would never smile again, but somehow.
Yeah. Right.
They are.
You would think they'd never smile
there's
again, right?
this huge, somehow we can look past all that. And really, we need to get out of the Kardashian, TV show and get into reality, because I think everybody wants to make a difference. They just don't know how.
I think you're right, and I'll say this in defense of many of us. I think it becomes overwhelming. I'll give you the classic example for me: the starving children in Africa, and periodically there's famine. There's another potential famine going in because of drought and other things there, and it seems to be a never-ending problem. And so at some point you just get overwhelmed and you say, I can't help. It's enough. I'm exhausted.
What can I do?
What can I do? And nothing changes even when I do something. Here it goes on. And I fear that this conflict, if it drags on too long, will fall off the news. Will fall off our radar.
Yeah.
The urgency. I can't watch bombs every day. I can't watch killings every day. And so if it goes on for months or into years, God forbid, or if it's just because again, the Donbass region, people don't realize this has been under conflict since 2014. This is not. This area, the Russians invaded this early on. They didn't do it openly. The men took off their badges and whatnot and showed up as volunteers, supposedly to help this separatist group break away this Russian-speaking area of Ukraine. But so there's been fighting and conflict, not on the same scale. They weren't leveling cities. They weren't all in on it, but people were dying, and so the Ukrainians are like, welcome to the fight. This has been going on for a couple of years. They've ramped it up dramatically. It's gotten worse. They're committed more forces. There's more bombs. There's more people being killed. All of those things now. The Russians have gone all in on this effort. But this has been going on for a while. And if it goes on for a while, I fear Americans will get exhausted. Ugh. What do you
Yeah. That's human nature. We want to move on from something that's so horrible.
Yeah.
And look for something, that brings a little bit more life to us.
For example, you say Iraq. What's Iraq look like? We've moved on from Iraq. We pulled out of Iraq. And somehow we don't think about Iraq anymore. I can't believe that Iraq is a really fully functioning society yet, and that there isn't still conflict and fights and ISIS roaming, storming through, and people killing each other. I don't know that it's on the scale it once was, but it's still a simmering conflict, isn't it? It's still a it's not a normalized society anymore here, a safe world, I would think, for everybody. Or am I wrong? Yeah.
Well, no, ISIS is still there. They're just not congregating in as big a groups as before.
Right.
I was in some IDP camps there week before last. And you got the refugees from different cities, Mosul, Baghdad, that no longer have a home. That's kind of struck me, that you no longer have a home to go to. Yeah. So they're in these little, shacks all together. It gets hotter than hot in Kurdistan, Erbil, where I was, and no air conditioning. Everybody is packed in together.
And what is their hope? The house has been leveled or stolen or driven out. So now, are you a permanent refugee in these camps? Is there a way out? Do you have to emigrate and somebody take you in from some other country? Because you can't go home?
No, you can't go home. And so immigration, I think, is the main thing that everyone is after. And so you have a bunch of groups and nonprofits that are helping relieve some of the pain and suffering. I was at a couple of medical clinics, mobile medical clinics at the IDP camps, and they just line up because.
And what's an IDP camp?
It's displaced person. Oh. So they got run out of their house, their city, their town, their village, and now they're with people they don't even know. Right next door, just one thin wall separating them. And so when you think about, okay, you can't go home, that's a horrible feeling. Yeah. We all need a home.
We all need a home. And so in many of these instances, and you could go down the list, there are permanent refugees. There are people that live for years, maybe even generations, in these impromptu camps. So I don't know if they're permanent camps or if they just sort of make them sort of like homeless camps, but people have been driven out, and those that can't get out and can't go home are stuck in this living hell forever here, or for a long period of time. No,
they're stuck. They are stuck. And, once a person goes on a trip, they don't have to go with me. There's other organizations they can go to. It really softens their heart. It really, so we want to go change lives,
right?
But our lives get changed.
Yes, I think
it totally restructures us.
Talk about that, because your life has been changed. I mean, you talked about the last time you see things wherever it is. You're driving down Jamboree Boulevard and you see migrant farm workers, and you're compelled to stop and get them some water to help. All around us, where there's certainly homeless camps here in Orange County and Southern California that we tend to not think about, or they're down in the riverbeds or whatever, and we ignore these people. Even in the midst, there are homeless people. There are people that can't go home, that don't have a home. And then you go to these countries where large numbers of people have been displaced and driven out of their homes. What is that? Something about you makes you turn the wheel around, as you said the last time, and go back and look. Where the rest of us turn our eyes and look the other way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm good at that. I'm good at turning. I'm like, I'm going to go from point A to point B, and don't distract me from. I'm not going to. Don't make me stop at this place, okay? And shop with you, and then get back in my car and head to where I'm supposed to go. But somehow I can't tell. I can say that God moves people. I totally believe that he speaks in a still small voice. I don't think it's an audible voice necessarily, but he kind of moves us, and you can say, okay, let's see what happens here.
Yeah.
And when I pulled in and to try to find the Jefe, in this camp, I went,
The
it's kind of a
the,
risk.
the leader, the head guy. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I didn't know, but I'm just not that smart. So, I'll roll in and see what we could do. And somehow it just evolved and still goes today, 2.5 years later. Just amazing people that will change your life. You'll love on some people, and you'll just do some things for some people. They will change you.
Yeah.
And you in turn will love other people from other cultures and races and colors, and just the way that we are intended to.
Because you see them as people. They're not right now. This problem is, it's a faceless group. It's an insurmountable mass of people, and I can't wrap my head around it. I don't know any of them. I can't see them. They're just a group. And so I can judge them. I can ignore them. I can pray for them. I can worry about them, but I can't. Once I know them, once they hold my hand, how do I let go?
And the Ukrainian people are amazing. I've been, 4 times now. I love those guys. They're just so grateful for anything you will do for them. And the missing part sometimes, or in this part, is Russians. They didn't vote to, bomb Ukraine, and they're grieving too. They don't want that.
Right.
They have family there. They've been there. Why are we doing this? And
I think that's I think that's a large unspoken part of this, is why the Russian troops are not overwhelming the area, because they themselves are a little overwhelmed. Why the hell have we been sent here, and what the hell are we doing?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, but we can make a difference, and we can give, and we can go. And, to go on a trip like that, say, and you come back, your kids go, whoa, look what my mom did. Look what my dad did.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
You're a superhero.
It changes how you're viewed in your neighborhood. And then when you go someplace like that, your kids will tell their kids that story, and they'll go. Yeah. And it'll just stockpile. And America is free. We have the goods. We have the resources to make a difference. And,
so talk about
countries like that.
Talk about 2 things. All right. So what's it take to get there? What's it cost? How long does it take? Where do you go? Is it one direct flight to Poland, or do you stop along the way, or Romania, or wherever you're going? Talk about getting there. What's it cost?
Yeah. Well, the prices of flights have just skyrocketed. Yeah. But it's about $1,000 to go to Bucharest. A little under that from LAX. And then we take a short flight, $100 towards the border. And then, you're traveling for 24 hours, but you're sleeping on the plane. You're in a comfortable plane watching a movie. I mean, no complaints here.
Right.
And once we get there, you're energized. You're seeing a new culture, a new people group, and knowing that you have some answers for some people's questions. You can provide for some needs, and it's energizing. And you can do a trip. We're going to Vietnam 3 different times. Let's talk
about that too. You're taking Tongue Out, Dr. Trin's group. You're going back to Vietnam after a hiatus because of COVID. You're going back in this summer, I think, sometime.
Yes, end of June, beginning of July, and we're going to be with a leprosy center. We're doing 100+ eye surgeries, glaucoma and cataract. We're meeting the Mercy ship in a city that actually I haven't been, and
that's
some
the
medical
hospital
clinics.
Ship that I forget who runs it.
The Navy does, actually, our government. So they go around and do surgeries and to 3rd world countries. And they just happen to be in a city fairly close to us in our planning. So we changed our schedule, and we're going to go. And maybe the Tongue Out's going to partner with them. And so we partner with Tongue Out. Tongue Out came out of 7 Day Hero. and Dr. Iggy's just doing amazing there in Lewis.
So I'm sure
Jonas
we'll have
is
some
doing
more
amazing.
updates on how people can do that, join any of these things, go
Sure.
to Tongue Out, go to 7 Day Hero, contact us
Yeah.
here at OC Talk Radio. All these are places people can, somehow it's hard for me to believe that I can really just get on a plane like you are today and fly into a combat zone. That's
Yep.
hard to imagine.
Yep. You wake up and there you are.
What's your day like when you arrive, when you get there? Is it 24/7? Are you traveling? You riding? Is it
No,
hard?
well, it's a lot
Are you all
of
pumped
writing.
up?
Yeah. And you know, we try to have a breakfast, but we probably don't do lunch. And we try to be back to a hotel by dinner, by dark. So we don't put people at risk and even unknown risks. So we're always back by dark. And so people can gather themselves and talk about their experiences, because they're seeing things they've never seen before. And it's really important to tell the story. What did you hear, see, or feel today?
Yes.
And that's really an amazing session. I've been to so many of those sessions, and
I'll bet.
Oh my word!
It's like a debriefing. What have you gone through today here? And everybody, a shared experience that everybody's trying to make sense of.
And they see it differently. Yeah, they try to make sense of things they've never seen or heard before.
Right.
So that just grows you. That just you want to talk about being empathic. It allows team members to be friends for life when you go on a trip like this.
I'll bet. And how many do you typically take? A dozen, a half a dozen?
I think we have a trip coming up to Vietnam. There's about 30. I like about 20 or less, 15 to 20.
Right.
Just make it manageable and people can know each other and hang out and become a team. It's a little harder when you have more people.
Right.
But, it's the shared experience of doing what people are doing and hugging lepers.
Lepers. That seems, I said to this Dr. Trinh the last time, I didn't know there were any leper colonies left. I thought somehow we had eradicated leprosy from the planet Earth, but apparently not.
Well, the World Health Organization has determined that if your population is 1% or below as lepers, as having leprosy, then you can say it's eradicated. But when you're in a country of Vietnam, 98 million people, and however many people in India, that's still a lot of people that have leprosy.
Right.
And they can pretty much stop the spread, but you got 5 days of medication to do that. And so we go into once our friends have gone into the general population, they've had the 5 days, and it's a 0.001% chance that I would get, or we would get leprosy.
Because you take this 5-day drug regimen, because leprosy is not, apparently Dr. Trinh told me this, maybe he's listening and he'll come back on and clarify, but I don't think leprosy is actually conveyed by touching a leper, but that was
airborne.
Yeah.
It's airborne.
And the assumption was forever you had to isolate these people because somehow if you came near them or touched them, you would get leprosy.
That's right. That's right. And, they're the most grateful, loving, fun, smiley, laugh people that you have ever met in your life. You would love them. They're just so incredible. And yet you look at their life, and I'd lay down in a corner and cry the rest of my life. I mean, what they have to go through just physically. And the government doesn't always take care of them as well.
Hands, literally the skin rots and comes off and everything.
Well, the fingers, they retreat. So they just kind of grow back into their hands. So you'll see a nail kind of in a palm or something like that. And the nerves quit feeding the extremities. So every time we go, we find out someone had their legs removed or have died. And these are guys that have become our friends. And I've been there about 40 times and love these guys to death. And I was thinking about doing a T-shirt that said, "Have you hugged a leper today?"
Yeah, right. Oh, no, thank you. I don't see many or any, and I don't know that I want to hug them if I do. Yeah.
But we have lepers in our culture today. They may not have leprosy by definition in a medical term,
Right.
but they are treated as lepers.
Well, yeah, the leprosy historically has been the most frightening of all diseases because, as you said, your extremities fall off, your extremities
Mm-hmm.
rot,
Mm-hmm.
and your fingers, your toes, your hands, your nose, all this stuff starts to come apart. Dr. Trin's back in to give us some advice on leprosy here. He's been there, he's seen it.
No finger foods.
That's all he does is he waits for the moment to interject this, and then he comes back on. Here I'm waiting for some great insight, and I hear no finger foods. Finger looking good. All right. Well, I don't understand any of this. It's hard to imagine it. It's so much easier just to ignore it and to forget about it and to focus on, I got to get my kids up and into school today. I got lots of problems here. Gee, my sprinkler head broke this morning here, and I got other issues I got to take care of. My car needs a new muffler. Whatever it is, we can get consumed in our own lives and ignore those around us. But there are people like Jerry tugging at our heartstrings saying, there's a big problem over there, and you could help. And I say, no, I can't. And you say, yeah, you can. A little bit of money, maybe, if that's all you can do. A little bit of support. Share this with people. Show the story. Keep the story alive. Because if the story gets buried, if the next disaster takes over and pushes this one off the front lines, all the money starts to dry up. All the groups start to go away. Everybody starts to... It's sort of like after... this is a strange analogy, but after a death in your family, you think of the support that comes out immediately. The people show up to help you. What can I do? Hug you. Maybe they come to a ceremony. Maybe they show up at a funeral if we still do that. But whatever it is, there's a community there for a moment to help you. And then they go. And you're left with this hole in your heart. Somebody died, and it's a month later. And they're like, well, get over it. That was a month ago. And you can't get over it. You can't move on yet. You're still crying. You're still grieving. But the rest of the world has moved on. We're so short-sighted on this. I fear that the same thing happens in these disasters, earthquakes, wars. We're there and we're grieving and with you for a moment. But if it goes on too long, I can't hang in there forever. I can't stay with this forever.
Well, I think you bring up a great word, Paul, on grief. And we're grieving for Ukraine right now. And grieving is just, it kind of shows how much love that we have for someone when a death in the family has it. And I think that grieving is very healthy for people emotionally.
Right.
And we're grieving. You can grieve on someone you don't know.
Yeah,
you can have compassion for someone you don't know.
That is amazing. I think that's, if I'm going to pat Americans on the back for anything, we seem to have an extraordinary capacity. We seem to be the first to show up.
That's right.
to open up our hearts and and I'm not saying others don't do it too, but that seems to be part of our civic virtue, to think of others and to immediately want to help others. Maybe sometimes we want to help too much. We want to take over and tell everybody what to do. But I think that's, if America's, I want to believe that if America's known for anything, we're known for generosity and
that's right,
a compassion for others here.
That's right. And, you think about the people that have gone before us and have done that. And we're just following in their footsteps, and we're continuing that. And to be a model for our own children is...
I never thought of that. What message are you sending to your kids? Turn that off. Don't watch it, or let's do something. Do we, when called, why me? And then the question is, why not you? Who else?
And, you can take your kids on a trip. And we have people taking trips.
You could take your children into a war zone? I don't think I'm going to take my children.
Not a war zone, but, Vietnam.
Oh, yeah, right.
Or Peru. And we've had students all the time, and it's amazingly great.
Yeah, I would think that would be life-changing. You want to wake your kids up from their, video game-centric, what did I get this week, existence that we sometimes, our consumer I want more, 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 and it's all about me, 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 and where's my next toy? And we give our kids this, but sometimes we got to pull it back a little bit and say, there's another part to the world here. There's another side to life that you're not seeing, particularly in suburbia here. For many many kids here.
Let me show you how great your life is. Come with me.
Yeah, appreciate a little bit more what you have, and develop a little less me-centric and a little wider circle of the world here than just what's happening in your own life, in your own neighborhood.
But with that, and certainly gratitude is what you're describing, but with that, being an American and having the resources comes a responsibility.
Yes, right.
It's not just for me.
They used to call that noblesse oblige, to in the ancient days of kings, the obligation of the nobility. For those who have much is expected.
Required, yeah. Expected. That's exactly right. And it's amazing. I go to the leprosy center and I come out. It's the hardest place to go for me because I lose friends there, but it's the best place to go.
Yeah. Well, again, if people want to join up, so there's a cost to do this. You've got to cover your own airfare and some other things here,
and food and hotel.
Right. So what do you think? What do you think?
We keep people safe. A couple $1,000 depends on the airfares. That's the thing that we always have to go after is the airfare first, and everything else falls in line. Right. So I think we're doing Vietnam for about $2,500, and it's an 8-day trip, 9-day trip.
And I'll bet when you go. I mean, you're sort of pumped up on adrenaline. You're not sleeping till noon and lounging by the pool here, like when I go on a trip. Yeah.
No, jet lag helps us get people up early.
Yeah. All right. Oh, where am I at? But you kind of go. I mean, I would think you're there to do something. You're not just there to, let's walk down the cafe and have a little drink here or something. You're kind of on an agenda. You're there.
We're on an agenda, but we don't go from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. We have people in by dark, and we allow people to explore the city they're in. I don't think that's going to happen, in Kyiv, right. But in different countries we go to, so they get to experience stuff and eyes wide open.
Yeah, eyes wide open. Maybe that's it. Our eyes are not wide open most of the time here. We live in a narrow field of vision, and you suddenly forcing us to look outside of that field of vision and shaking us out of our complacency and giving us a chance to grow and help and learn and go through an experience that's probably kind of feels like a once-in-a-lifetime experience for most Americans that go with you.
Yeah.
And maybe,
absolutely.
Maybe it becomes more than that. Maybe it becomes your life mission, like it has in your case or Dr. Trin's case. It becomes something that you can't, once you do it, you're addicted to this. You got to go back and do it again. How can I not?
Yep, that's exactly right. You got it.
Well, all right. So, give us the organization one more time as we wrap up here, and how you're leaving today and getting on a plane today.
Yes. Yep. So
when do you leave?
4 o'clock Pacific time, and I arrive at 6 p.m. in Bucharest tomorrow.
So how long is that? How long is that flight? 12, 14?
Well, you jump into change planes in Frankfurt.
Okay.
And you have like a 1.5 hour layover, enough time to find a bratwurst in the airport, and then.
Because it's got to be like what, an 8-hour flight, 10-hour flight, 12-hour flight, or something to Germany.
Yeah, I think it's 9 hours.
Okay.
And really, that's nothing. And then it's 2.5 hours into Bucharest from there. It's really easy, and time flies.
Literally,
the airline. Time flies. Everything flies. Yeah. So 7dayhero.org is our organization, and we're in a bunch of different countries. Doing things that are totally unbelievable for the recipients, because they go, "Why would you come here? You don't even know me."
Yeah.
I was sent. They go, "Okay, thank you for coming."
Thank you for coming. And, I'm not going to ask anymore. Thank you. I don't know who sent you or why, but thank you for being here. Strangers just arrived with packages here at the door. And What I wonder if there's some way you can report. You can be our eyes and ears on the ground for those that can't join you. Is there any way to ever connect wirelessly? Could we have you back on a show in next week or a week after? Well, you're only going to be there for a week, so.
Yeah, well, yes, I can send you some videos and some photos. Or
why don't you talk to Iggy and see, maybe, I don't know who he's got for next week here, but maybe there's some way to get you. I don't know if Iggy's still listening here, Dr. Trinh, but maybe there's some way to have you on the ground next week telling us where you're at. What do you think of that, Dr. Trinh? He's given a thumbs up to that.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great.
Because now we can see through your eyes. Maybe you can hold the camera up and show us, or you can walk over to somebody here. Here's one of your partners and have them come on. We need to humanize. We need to see these people. We need to see them as real people. And if we can't go with you, then you're our eyes and ears. You're our field reporter.
I'm happy to do that and report on and show you what we're seeing and the situation at hand.
Yeah, here's the truck, here's the box, here's the, let's bring us there virtually if we can't be there physically. Yeah.
Okay, I'll work it out with Dr. Iggy, and we'll see what we can do. Look forward to it.
What do you think, Iggy? What do you think, Dr. Trinh? Is that something we can do?
As long as you have internet service and a link to Zoom, we are good to go.
Yeah. And
well, that's a lot of prerequisites, sir.
But because we did have somebody on the ground, another group that was just raising money. It was a Vietnamese group. They're apparently Vietnamese refugees in Poland who came there after the war. They supported the North Vietnamese, so they came back into the communist countries as their reward. And they've stayed and evolved into a large community of Vietnamese expats in Poland. And they were pulled to support people coming across the border because it reminded them too much of their story. As immigrants, as refugees.
And so they were able to do some live stuff.
Yeah, so she just literally had her phone, and she's just like, here's people packing boxes. Here's people, I'll show you the stuff we're doing. Here's the little warehouse we've got of supplies. Here are some people volunteering. Here are, it was just kind of a camera showing, it's just a handheld camera showing what we're going through and talking to a couple of the people. And then they talked to a couple of people who were Ukrainian refugees and thank you. Here's how we came across the border. We abandoned our car. We walked across, anything to get out, any of that turns it into, that humanizes it and puts a face to it.
Will do. Look forward to it.
Let's look forward to that. And I think that will help give people a greater sense of what you're doing. I'm imagining it now. If I can see it and hear it, it becomes that much clearer.
Well, we'll work on the time difference.
Yeah, I don't know. Right. Well, you figure that out. Would it be 3:00 in the morning or something? I don't know for you what time. I don't know what time how many hours ahead of us are they? 8 hours? Or
no, it's about 9 or 10.
9 or 10. So if it's 9 in the morning here, what is it? 9 o'clock there? 8 o'clock at night, something like that. So maybe that'd be good. Maybe right after you've, brought everybody back. If I don't know what the time changes, I'm trying to figure it out, but maybe to be late at night or afterwards.
I'll figure it out.
All right. Well, then we'll look forward to continuing the conversation next week right here on Health Talks as we talk about the health of a whole country and our own health, helping the world here. Maybe that's
there it is.
Here.
Thank you, Paul. That's awesome.
All right. Thank you. Well, there you have it, a promise to hear more and a way to keep this front and center, because it is the health of the world, the health of the planet, the health of our community, and the health of ourselves as we reach out and help others, strangers we don't even know, but feel compelled, called to do something. We hope you'll be called to tune in next week as we take you all the way to Ukraine in the front and show you the people who are helping and the people that are being impacted halfway around the world. Right here in Orange County's only community radio station, OCTalkRadio.net.